You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the February 17th meeting, the Michigan City Urban Enterprise Association. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
It's now 6:02. I'll call the Michigan City Urban Enterprise Board of Directors regular meeting for Monday, February 17th, 2025 to order. Start with roll call. Nick Pollard,
Present.
Dakota Euler,
Present.
Jim Clarendon,
Here.
Antonio Conley,
Here.
Bruce,
Here.
Ms. Willis.
Present.
Chair is here as well. We'll go down to approval of minutes. Go down to the minutes of January 27, 2025.
Motion to approve.
I got a motion. Do I got a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The February 4th executive session meeting minutes, I didn't get a chance to complete, so I'll have them for the next meeting. So we'll go down to director's report. We'll go down to the January finance report. As depicted on here, all outstanding balances for grants were paid out. They finally cashed them last month. They cleared. The check for Tonic Blank was for Ellie Salon grant, and the payment for Circles of Friends was for the last daycare grant we approved. I don't know the exact month. And then we were up to date with all our invoices to attorney Anthony Novak. We have $100 invoice that just came in today for the work he did on the contract and the SOP. Besides that, CLH accountant, they're all paid up to date. I haven't checked the PO box. There may be some that they may have came after, but up to date, they were finished with all their payments. And that was it.
Good question. Did we talk about all that money in the checking account? Didn't we talk about moving some of that into the money market so we can earn a little bit of interest? I'm sure the money market's making 4% right now, right? Or at least probably.
From what I remember, we did move the 110 to the money market a few months ago. There was nothing else ever moved, and that's why it's always stayed the same right there. But
Do we want to move something? Do we probably don't need 157,000 in a checking account, right?
Yeah, if you want it to grow, yeah.
Move 100 grand of it. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah.
it always weird. I mean, that's the thing. You can always move it back from. I mean, it takes a day, right?
Right.
Mhm.
At least for a couple months until we start giving out some of these grants possibly.
For sure.
I don't think that's a bad idea.
so do I have a motion to that effect?
Okay, a motion to move 100,000 from the checking horizon into the money market horizon.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion on that? Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes. I'm sorry. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. 100,000 will be moved into the money market account from the checking account. Do I have a motion to accept the finance report?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll move on now. Next to the agenda, I'll turn the floor over to Nick from the Executive Assistant Search Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we did have a executive assistant committee. I believe it was myself, Tristan, and Bruce. We did meet. We had one person come and interview. We did receive 3 resumes. One person backed out. The other person was no response. And so Miss Williams was the only one that we wound up interviewing. We did wait until the February 1st closing of the application deadline for the position. We did receive no other applications or resumes by that date. So it was the committee's recommendation to hire Miss Kamisha Williams as the next executive assistant to the UEA.
Yeah, I'm like, oh.
The board still needs to vote, but that is the committee's recommendation.
Hearing that, we'll go down to the Executive Assistant contract proposal. We had Attorney Novak. First, we made an offer of do not exceed 39,000. She came back with an offer of 42,000. The committee was all in favor of it as set forth in the contract. Her recommendation was for a do not exceed contract of 42,000 with a $33,500 monthly payment. Was the proposal that she proposed, which is outlined in here. The contract will go into effect today and run to the end of the year, and it'd be the decision of the board at the calendar year of every January to vote or add amendments to add on to the contract. She would be an independent contractor employee, which means she would be responsible for paying all taxes associated with her pay from the urban enterprise. I think the contract lays out everything. She would be assigned duties as needed by the board to handle the day-to-day operations of the Urban Enterprise Association.
I just want to add a persnickety point, but it makes a big difference to the IRS. She'll be an independent contractor. We're not going to call her an employee. If we even casually use the word employee, we have to start taking care of withholding. Small clarification.
Thank you.
So what do we call her?
Independent contractor.
Okay.
Assistant.
Executive assistant.
Oh, yeah,
I was looking for more. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I took your question.
Miss Independent Contractor, would you like to,
I like it.
And what was the pay?
It's gonna be 42,000 a year.
Well, yeah, I'm
For a
sorry.
12-month period.
That's
So
what I
it's
thought
gonna
you
get
said.
prorated for this month, and then moving forward, it will be at that amount, that monthly that we talked about. She is expected to work 29 hours a week. We discussed that with her. She's fine with that. We will have set hours at our new office location on Franklin Street. And then she understands that she will have to go out into the community the remainder of the hours to do the goodwill of the UEA.
And
So, we're
report monthly on on what Brain did. Report monthly on essentially what she has done for the month, and give the board an update on how things are progressing, how things have been working out.
And obviously handle all the grants and stuff like that as they come in and all the logistics behind all that, yeah.
Yep.
Great.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Board.
We got a copy here, but you both can sign and get a, we can do it after the meeting. I'll go down to speaking with Attorney Novak. We talked about, as he was working on the contract, we talked about he's needing to have something in place we talked about the debit cards that are associated with the account. He said he thought it'd be a good practice to have something in place to establish procedures of what to do and how to show, essentially how to record keeping of finances and purchases through the debit card. And we and him worked on and talked about a standard operating procedure, which he drew up and wrote out.
I'm actually surprised that he would even allow a debit card. Because the debit card, I mean, you could put limits on it, but generally that gives you access to your entire checking account,
Yeah,
right? Where
the
a credit card,
Yes.
it's a limit
limit.
of 2,500, right, or whatever, and it just won't let you overspend. So I'm just surprised that.
Well, we talked about it because the debit card that was with the previous executive assistant, she had, the limit was $225 a month, and it was just attached to the third account. And that would be kind of the same process, but he said it'd be good practice to have something established on how to handle, how to submit the receipts and to keep track of.
Yeah, so it will be attached to the spend account,
Yeah.
so we can,
All itemized receipts.
and we can regulate the amount of money that's in that account, so,
Oh, is that the spend account that's on there?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's called spend account.
Is there a second sheet to this? Because I know it is a label.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, I must have,
it's all right.
Yeah, that's not
Just
bad.
want to make sure we had something.
yeah.
Well, do we need to move some money in that spend
You
account?
wanna-
Is $175 in it?
Uh, 225 comes out of
I'll
the main
glance at it.
checking every month and replenishes back into that account. That's how it was previously set up, so it's always still remained the same.
Is that enough? I'm just asking because I don't know. But
I mean, I know she used it for,
she's got to buy paper, ink. You know, we have an office now, right? So I'm just asking, is 225 enough?
I mean,
Maybe it is. I don't know.
could increase it. No, you go, I'm sorry.
I was just saying, we got a lot of the materials from Staples already, correct?
Correct.
So moving forward, it would just here and there, so I don't think there would be an immediate need, but
I think the last need for the office, there's 2 chairs, but there needs to be like an actual office chair to sit in behind the desk and maybe a few other essentials, a few other essentials for the office. I mean, well, there's paper, there does, after printing some packets a day, there needs some more ink for the printer. But I mean, there's a few other items that's needed. The desktop computer now, because the previous laptop is it's not the greatest. So there's a desktop computer in there that just needs to be set up, and just a few other items that may need to make the office a little more officey and be good to go.
I think if we have a situation like that where it may end up, costing more than what the limit's set at, as long as, there's a motion brought to the floor to make an exception by the additional items and we vote on it, I think we'll be fine. But $225 a month, I mean,
I was just gonna mention, printing, the printer ink itself is, and if you're doing a lot of printing, that's gonna cost you. I just bought printer ink for my printer.
I know the
And,
one.
you have like a agreement or some kind of arrangement with Staples, and where you get a discount or something like that on that kind of stuff?
They do offer a business account, but first purchase went in. We first went in to get the like the desktop and items for the setup account, but it costs more if you're not reoccurring buying something every month. You're paying for the account, which essentially you only use in every 3 months. You're paying $20 a month for something that you only sporadically gonna use. It kind of really didn't balance out. But I also knew that the printer ink, when I looked it up today, when it said it was low, it's like $106 for the cartridge that was needed to replace the ink. So but it seemed like it lasted a while. It was because it just now finally went out after a few months. But that was one things I could see that was a costly need. But there's plenty of paper, folders. It's just need of another chair for the office, and that's really about it, I think. Off the top of my head.
Staples does have like a buyer's group that you can join because they've been trying to get me to join it. To where you take a bunch of small entities and they group you into one big one, and you get the bulk buying power of a bunch of small places. So, or if you just kind of know, hey, in about a month I'm going to need some stuff, and maybe you come to the board, hey, I need a little bit more money to buy. I mean, we can handle it. It's not a big issue.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the standard operating procedures for the debit card.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Or any discussion, I'm sorry. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Oh, motion passes, I'm sorry. There wasn't a second SOP. We'll go down to the Michigan City Chamber of Commerce. We received an invoice from them a couple months ago that I just stumbled upon. I know last year they came out and spoke to the board, so I reached out to the president of the chamber and asked him to come out and speak to what they do, and if we want to continue with the service, continue with the program. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Where do you want me?
Wherever you need to be. You're fine.
Thank you for having me. My name's Kirk Gillens, president of the Michigan City Chamber. Sorry. I've been the president now for just a little over 9 months, started back in May of 2024. Previous to that, I was at the Valparaiso Chamber. I was there for 17 years. So I know chambers a little bit. I've been around them a few times. one of the things that attracted me to this chamber and this community was the everything that's happening, the momentum that's coming up and going on right now in Michigan City. It's an exciting time, and so I'm excited to be part of this community for that. And to help the chamber grow. The chamber has been there since 1918, so it's a well-established organization that is very strong financially. We're stable. We own our building outright. The chamber has no debt at all, which is a good thing for us. We do have 3 employees. It's myself, and then you probably all know Danny Hogan and Katie Swistek. She is our events and marketing manager. So the 3 of us, we trudge through and do the work of the chamber. The work of the chamber is to support local business, to attract local business, to work in conjunction with the EDC and the city, redevelopment, groups like yourself, to do whatever we can to attract businesses and to build up the businesses that are already here. We currently have 423 members, and members for the chamber are businesses or organizations. So we have 423 members of the chamber currently. 66 of those are nonprofit organizations or committees, or like your organization here. So that's 16% of our membership are nonprofit. In 2023, the chamber developed a 3-year strategic plan. So we're in the 3rd year of that strategic plan. So we're getting ready to start that process again this summer for the next 3 years. And when they developed this strategic plan, there were 4 key items that they wanted to have in that. And the first one was talent growth and employer connections. And so one of the things that the chamber has done, and Nick has been part of this, our education committee did these bus tours they did a bus tour last year, and they're getting ready to do another one. So they got the school counselors together on a bus, and they took them to different industry manufacturers to show them what jobs are available and what jobs will be available for the students that are currently in school. This year, they're doing healthcare, so they'll be getting on the same bus, going around to different healthcare organizations and seeing what jobs could be available for students that maybe aren't looking for college or just looking to get into a trade. We also do a career fair, and we have our Young Professionals group, which is the Lakefront Career Network. That's another way that we build talent. So we get that group together. That group is organized together, and they choose a nonprofit member of the chamber each year. It's called their Spotlight organization, and they use all of their events that they put together. Half of the proceeds go to that organization. So this year is Family Advocates. Last year was Save the Dunes. Save the Dunes was last year, and they ended up giving about $8,000 to Save the Dunes. So it's kind of a great way for them to get connected, to learn about the chamber, but also then feel like they're doing something and giving back to the community at the same time. We also have a small business and nonprofit group, and we're putting workshops together with the ISBDC, and the young professionals are also doing workshops. They're called How To, and they started in the fall in November, and the first one was How To Canva, because there's a lot of our businesses that just use Canva, and they may know how to use it, but they don't know how to in-depth use it. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. We're doing another one coming up that's How To Social Media for your business. And local business leaders are involved with those. We also are doing a Leaders and Readers book club now, which is kind of a new thing for us. I don't know many chambers that are doing anything like this, where we choose a book about business or leadership, and everybody reads it, and they get together once every quarter. We have a different book, and so that's one of the things that we are starting now. We also have quality of life enhancement, and that is one of the spots that over the last year really kind of has not been too active with the transition of Katie Eaton leaving and myself coming in, getting to know. I didn't know anybody when I came to this. I knew you, but you're not around all the time. Just getting things. So that's going to start again. We're going to revitalize our CEO roundtable. And we are starting a new lifestyle magazine that is going to send to every business and every resident in Michigan City in the 46360 zip code. We're going to do 2 of those this year, and those are going to start telling the story of the businesses of Michigan City. So telling people what's happening, not so much an advertising booklet, but more about the people that started the businesses, the people that are running the businesses, why are they doing it, what are their passions, how do they get there? And that's one of the things our podcast is going to do also. It's going to be like, I don't have a huge title right now, but it's kind of like a how did you get here? How did you get your job type thing. So we're going to be interviewing several people. Where did they start and why are they here? So what happened to connect you to where you're at now? There's a lot of good stories out there. And then organizational strength is our fourth pillar that we're on. And that is also a lot of the other things that I spoke on. They will be part of that organizational strength. We now have a full staff, and we've almost had a full staff for a year, so that's a good thing. I mentioned our education fund. That is unique to our chamber as well. In 2003, there was an education foundation fund set up at the Unity Foundation, and that is to enhance the quality of education through programs not funded through tax dollars. We use the proceeds out of that fund each year to fund requests from the Michigan City area schools. Usually about $14,000 is what we can spend. That fund currently is sitting at about $140,000. So it's another strong account that the chamber has that is endowed. So it'll be there in perpetuity. We are, as you may have noticed, we have a new brand for the chamber. We're working to get out in the community and get our name known. We do have 423 businesses that are members, but we could have 800 members that are with the chamber, I would believe. So we are working at that, building some excitement around some of the things that we're doing. So that's kind of where we're at right now and what we're doing. I'm willing to answer any questions that you have. Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me to be here today.
Any questions from the board?
I can just actually have your contact.
I have a card for you.
Awesome.
I have a card for everybody.
Thank you.
Very good.
I will let everybody know, the committee
Thank
that
you.
Kurt referenced, that I sit on.
Thank you.
Has some professionals from Michigan City. We have representatives from manufacturing, from labor, and from Purdue, and the Michigan City area schools.
There's a couple different banks. CLH is a
Yes.
member on there.
Yep.
First Trust Credit Union.
And we were out ahead of this new career pathway requirement for high school graduation before any of these other communities. It seems like, and what Kurt was talking about last year, what we did was we wanted to give all the school counselors in Michigan City a better understanding of what careers are out there for the students that choose to not go to college. And now we have a regional chamber in Northwest Indiana that's going to emulate that this year. So I think that speaks volumes about, what the Michigan City Chamber has been doing on the forefront of some of this stuff. So kudos to the
I think
Michigan
it's
City
exciting.
Chamber.
It's an exciting program that we do.
I was going to actually wanted to talk to you about the bus program, the bus tour program. So is this something that is during school time? Is it year round? How often is it? Do you have to sign up for it?
So far we've just done one, so we're doing it once a year. So our next one is in March or April, I can't remember. April?
At least April, maybe
Maybe
around
into
May
May.
1st, yeah.
It's the counselors from the different schools that we take.
Oh, okay, so it's not the actual students?
Correct.
It's the counselors?
It's the counselors,
I
so then
see.
they can take the information back to the students.
Okay.
For the $360, is that the classic level or is that a la carte?
That's the classic level.
Classic level.
That's our base rate.
So what's the level above the classic level?
So there's another level. There's several other levels. The next one would be our bronze level, and that's $900.
It's on the invoice.
Is it on the,
Yeah, I see it now. I'm sorry. I apologize.
that gives you some extra promotional items, and then enhanced listings on our website, things like that.
Any more questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion on the $360 invoice for the Chamber of Commerce membership?
So
So move, second?
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get it paid by tomorrow.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
man.
We'll go down to the residential grant. I'll turn it over to the grant committee, Bruce, Nick, and Dakota. You guys have some amendments and updates for it?
Okay. So we did have a grant committee meet, myself, Dakota, and Bruce.
Sign this one. Yes, I know.
Later on down the agenda, you also see the budget. So we kind of came up with a round number for the budget for 2025. And then we kind of worked backwards from that to decide how much we were going to cap the total spent for each grant. Being that we're looking at having 4 different grant options starting this year, we decided on $40,000 for the total that we would give away for business grants. So we don't really have, obviously, those grant amounts can fluctuate depending on what kind of work is done, how much work is done, and so on and so forth. So basically, it could be, we don't have a set number of grants that we would give away for that, so we have a cap at 40,000. Kind of the same thing with the residential grants. We settled on a number of 52,500 for the residential grants. For the neighborhood improvement grant, being that this is something kind of new, we thought we would start out about $2,500 and set a $500 limit per grant on that. So basically it would be about 5 grants just to kind of see where that goes this year and see how well that works. And then the workforce development grant, being that that's a new one as well, we went with 5,000 and we figured that'd be about $1,000 each for a total of 5 grants for the workforce development. And each of the grants obviously has their guidelines that will have to be followed for that. But those are the numbers we came up with for a total of 100,000, which would ultimately be our budget for the grant cycle this year.
I'm sorry. Can you give me the totals? The totals for each again. I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Business was 40,000. Residential was 52,500. The neighborhood improvement was 2,500 at $500 each. And the workforce development was 5,000 at 1,000 each.
Workforce development, is that to help existing businesses in the UEZ to train their current employees or to hire more, or what is that?
So if I'm not
Who's
mistaken,
gonna apply for that?
Dan Bowditch kind of addressed that at the last meeting. I think that falls under the business grants.
Mhm.
So if they
Yeah.
can get a grant already through the business grant to further train their employees. So what this would be in our vision for this is to take individuals specifically that live in the urban enterprise zone and help them with training, certifications, possibly transportation to and from to get the certification, tools, whatever is going to help them develop a skill.
On the residential one, is the individual grant the same, it's 52,500.
would be the total that we would disperse. But the residential grants obviously is determined by household income.
Okay.
So that can
I got
vary
you.
as well.
Okay.
But that is something that we kind of talked about as a committee as well. It would be up to the discretion of the board, but we did talk about maybe increasing the residential grant amount to 7,500 as well, just because the costs of material and everything obviously has gone up. So $5,000 doesn't go very far nowadays.
Right.
So that's something else we discussed. Anybody have any questions on that?
No, I'll say I definitely like the 7,500 idea for the residential. Only other question I had, you said about transportation. So would that be like purchasing them a bus ticket, or how would the transportation go about?
A bus pass we talked about as an option.
Because I know the city, I know they're $10 a month for like a whole month ride. So that's something just popped in my head. I didn't know if you had like an idea or purchase an Uber to and from the, or how was
That would be an option as well. So we discussed both of those as options. Say somebody wants to go to Ivy Tech, and we have full intentions of reaching out to Ivy Tech to let them know what our plans are, to see if they can partner with us in any way. Say they want to go to Ivy Tech, and if they could catch the bus to get there, if they need to take an Uber to get there, if the certification, costs $500 to get, they have an additional $500 that they can use towards those costs of getting to and from the class that they're taking, or whatever other associated costs they might have with that for books or whatever. So that was kind of our vision of that.
And the only other question I have for it, is that grant essentially, would it just be for homeowners in the zone, or renters as well that live in the urban enterprise? That was something I was pondering on. Because I wouldn't be
That's up to the
opposed.
board.
I wouldn't be opposed if it was open to renters as well. Just open it up for
Yeah, they're still a resident.
exactly.
Correct.
Yeah. So I didn't know.
I'm fine with that.
I agree with that too.
I think the ultimate goal is to give somebody a skill that is going to better their quality of life. So I don't think we hold it against them whether they own or rent in the zone.
Yeah, if they show initiative, we want to reward it.
Right.
I think there's a good opportunity to collaborate with Work One office too, which is literally just right around the corner in the hallway right there. Because they have a lot of folks that are doing exactly this, but maybe the transportation's a hiccup. Work One's going to pay for it. So if maybe they know what we're doing and we know what they're doing, hey, when you leave here, walk across the hall to those folks, or call you, right, and get that all set up. But there's a great opportunity there to make sure all these folks know all the different opportunities available to them.
And if we can increase our revenue, maybe we can increase but we discussed that as well.
Yep. Yeah, so this being the first year of these two grants specifically, we kind of just set a limit to see how well they work. And if they end up being successful, we may have other funding options in the future. So there's a good chance that we could actually increase this amount moving forward.
Good to me.
Yeah, well done, nice work.
Yeah.
She has a question.
My question was about the residential grant. I remember you guys talking about setting up something where the contractors could be paid directly so that the homeowners aren't having to come up with $5,000. I think that would be a huge game changer. Because I don't think that's very affordable for a lot of the residents.
Right, we did talk about that. In my sense, I'm gonna add to what I said before. I was thinking maybe we set up some kind of an escrow account. And it occurs to me that we probably wanna ask our attorney to coordinate with us on how to do that. But it's a valid concern beyond what you said, and also that we just don't wanna be fronting money, knowing from my experience, a certain percentage of those tradesmen won't do the work.
But I know from like the past grant cycle, the invoice was sent, the contractors were paid directly. It was just nothing set in parameters. It was kind of just willy nilly how it was done. I know for instance, like Ton and Blank was paid directly for the work they performed for Ellie Salon or like Arlenell Roofing. But I guess like the issue that I kind of remember from it was we present the grant as a reimbursement grant, and it just never made sense to me how we talking about poverty levels, but we offering a reimbursement grant for more than $5,000. I was always to me that was always kind of like it's kind of shooting ourselves in the foot on
Exactly.
actually
Well,
trying to help somebody.
If it's set up like a construction escrow, and feel free to chime in, then we could be making payment directly to the tradesman, but it would be upon certain conditions to give us some, let's call it quality control.
Why can't we do just, okay, you get paid a certain percentage up front, you only get a third or something like that to start the work, and you don't get the rest until the work is complete.
Well, there are two problems with that from my unscientific empirical.
And I
One-
get where you're going with that,
Yeah,
because,
The other part is that I want Mr. Novak to weigh in on this. What we also experience is, for sake of discussion, let's say there's 2,500 left on the job, they just don't show up because they got another job for 10,000, and their mind is 10,000 is more than 2,500, so they never show up to whatever put in the last two windows or something. So that's why to me, what I'll call a construction escrow account is the best way to protect ourselves. And I'm open to your comments to people in the trade industry.
I would say if it gets to that, we probably should maybe even have a running list where if you're a contractor and you do that,
Yep.
you're no longer ever going to be approved
Yep.
to do anything for one. You know,
Yeah, well, like that.
because there are a lot of fly by night
Mhm.
places out there that will do
We had
exactly
it-
that.
Last thing I'll say on this, these were not fly by night that did it to us. It was pretty surprising, some of them.
Really?
These are well-known storefront, like, what is the matter with you? So that's why I want it across the board.
You know, obviously, that's the reason why it was set up as a reimbursement. So it's something we can discuss with our attorney.
that's a conundrum, because like you said, it kind of doesn't make sense to have it on a reimbursement basis if we're trying to help people who are, they're below the poverty level. So
Yeah.
nobody's gonna have $5,000 laying around to make that upfront payment. That just doesn't make sense. So they have to make some kind of concession as to how the contractor is going to get paid. That's my opinion.
We can have this conversation,
We can.
we'll work on it in committee.
Only other thing I was gonna say, I know the grant cycle starts March 1st. Today's the 17th. I know on the draft when we had applications were due to be submitted today to be viewed for the March 17th meeting, which I know the deadline it's not gonna be able to make the deadline because it hasn't even been posted yet. Were we still intact with asking the residents in the business to come in and come into the meeting to present the work that they're needing done for the grant?
Personally, I like that.
I mean, I was in favor of it as well.
I think it shows some initiative. They take the time to come in and speak to us about what they want to do.
It gives us sort of a quality control as well, in the event that there's a question about it afterwards. From an optics standpoint, if we didn't even take the time to meet the people, perhaps we could be second guessed for our judgment.
So good to
I'm
me.
good with that.
But I think we need to change the application submission deadlines for the chart because I think it's sufficient if they give us they turn the application in a week prior to the meeting. I guess a week still isn't enough time to go through all of it. But like right now, they got to have it in 30 days before the next meeting. I think 2 weeks would be sufficient, honestly.
I think so.
That's the only other thing I would suggest we change is from the table. It's a 2 week time frame that they must have the grants and all. The application turned in to be heard at the next meeting, as opposed to the 30-day window. So do I have a motion to that effect?
One other comment. I was looking at some of the grants from other communities. I was noting that in those communities, they have it where 50% of the materials price will be paid. If it's their homeowner's primary residence and they're the individual contractor doing the work, that will pay 50% for materials only.
I did have that in my notes too. We did discuss that. So like if it's a DIY homeowner
Mhm.
and they're not gonna hire a contractor to do the work, basically what Dakota found in other areas, other UEAs, they will give 50% of the material costs to the homeowner, and then they can perform their own work.
That sounds good to me.
There's gotta be some kind of accountability there too, I believe. Just so we're not giving somebody money and.
Yeah, that's I'm like, yeah.
So I think that would be like a reimbursement.
Yeah, I imagine it would still be reimbursable,
Yep.
but it would just have to go through the whole cycle. But it might help with the poverty, you know,
Yeah.
they might say, hey, I wanna paint my front porch this color and present it to us, say, okay, check, go buy the paint and we'll give you 50% of that paint, but then I think that helps beautify more and more of those residents.
Sounds great. I know right here it says no grant funds will not be dispersed until the final inspection is completed. So I know essentially they could come in for the DIY, but they still have to show. I know it's required that they submit before and after pictures, so they wouldn't get the payment until they submit or the work that they done is completed. Which I think a lot of stuff the city comes out and has to do the final inspection on. So I think that kind of works in their favor as well. Any more amendments to this?
I mean, are you planning on posting this
No,
once we approve it, or?
when we approve whatever the amendments, then I send it out to everybody. Everybody get to look at it. Then try to get at least posted to the city website.
Okay, well, there was a couple other things that I thought, on that first page where it says other repairs for under the purpose. I don't like the idea of that saying other repairs. I think we should give a pretty good list and just leave it at that list, because then it makes it more discrimination and whatnot. But that's my thought on that.
So you saying not the cut you. You saying other repairs as approved by the grant committee?
Yeah,
And you said you thought that would be discriminatory?
I thought the other repairs line was.
In what way? And to whom?
I think this is, I wonder if we said, see, it says electrical upgrades, and my sense is that, okay, somebody might wanna do something that's a plumbing upgrade, and so that's why I thought other repairs could help, like, cover that.
I mean, it still has to be approved, so.
Yes,
I think if we made a list, it'll be too easy to leave something out.
Something out, yeah, exactly. So
As long as it has to be approved,
Approved.
then I think that covers everything.
So do I.
And I believe table 1.1 still needs updated. Or is that from what I can tell, it's still the same one from before? That was a conversation at the last meeting, I believe.
Nick, I didn't check to see if those were current figures, did you?
No, I didn't.
So we'll. You want to take a look and make sure it's current figures for the table 1.1.
Who publishes that? Where you can get those?
I don't know.
Is that a state?
I think So we can go.
And so then I guess it goes back to that 7,500. Would the 7,500 be the at poverty level, and then 5,000 at the 125? What I can see right now, the poverty level and 125 are the same.
Mhm.
And you said make a maximum for the residential grant of 7,500.
Correct,
I
so
just
that
make
would
sure.
be the poverty level, and then the other three levels would just stay the same.
All right, so for the residential grant, I guess we can, anybody else have any amendments they want to add to it? Here now, I guess we can take it, we can do them all in one, or we take them one by one, however you guys want to do it.
What you're talking about,
For the residential grant.
oh, the grant, so this is not gonna be changed, or somebody's gonna work on it, look it up?
Yeah, we approve it tonight contingent upon
The changes.
the changes. So I guess, do I have a motion to a DIY portion of the grant for 50% material costs with the stipulated requirements that were stated? I don't remember all of them, is that?
Just that it'll be a reimbursement, and they will have to show before and after pictures. Because like something like painting, my guess is they don't need a permit to do that. So there would be no final inspection by the city. So they would just have to bring some documentation to us to show that the work was completed.
Sounds good to me.
I have a motion. Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. We'll go down to, you said you wanted to replace other repairs as approved by the grant committee?
It sounds like the board's in another position, so I'm fine with it staying that way, how it is.
All right, do I have a motion to update the table 1.1 to make sure it's the most current version?
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, that passes as well. Go down to change the residential grant program for 2025 to 7,500 maximum. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? That passes as well. I believe that was it for the residential grant. So I'll ask, do I have a motion to approve the 2025 residential grant with the pending amendments?
So moved.
Second.
Second, and just before we vote, you and I could take 3 minutes. I called up on AI what the new guidelines are, so we can fill.
I
it
just
in.
typed it in ChatGPT, so that's, okay. Bet. What was I finna say? Oh, motion in a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes for the 2025 residential grant. We'll go to the business grant. Was there any amendments anybody want to add to it? Actually, I got to backtrack. I want to, we were keeping the grant application due 2 weeks prior to the meeting, or was it 4 weeks prior, or was it doing 2 weeks?
I thought part of the amendment was to change it to 2.
I just didn't remember if I had said that or not.
My understanding of it.
All right. Guess we good then, my bad. We'll go to business grant, I apologize.
I guess one thing we may as well amend the approval to 2 weeks, or the submission to 2 weeks, right?
Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
second,
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That
Aye.
passes.
This one was, I had a note for this one. It doesn't really, for the attaching at the bottom of page 2. The I-9 will show that they have employees. But what if they're like self-employed, a self-employed business or something like that? My understanding, they wouldn't have a I-9 for that.
I guess they'd have one that shows blank, right?
So,
Probably don't have many brick and mortar businesses that don't have at least one
One
employee
employee.
besides the owner, maybe.
Right, I would
I mean, maybe
expect
there
it's
is, I don't
more
know.
like people in consulting or the service industry that don't have employees.
And they don't have a storefront either, right? Maybe they do. but- Good catch.
Only other thing I thought would like to see noted was, in their project description, in addition to how it will enhance the zone or whatever, I think it would be nice to know how many employees they have and how many live within the zone. Know how many people are benefiting from the dollars that we're spending.
so your motion is to,
Add a line for number of employees and how many live inside the UEA zone.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any more discussion? The motion is on add a number for, I'm sorry, add a line for a number of employees that live in that,
No, the two separate, so how many employees and how many of them live within the zone?
I got you, okay, my bad. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Any more amendments to the 2025 business grant?
Motion to approve?
Got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. For the neighborhood improvement grant, there didn't have anything typed out exactly. So I mean, we can just go off the framework of what you have for it, and then we can type it out, submit it out. We can approve it here today. So for the neighborhood improvement grant, it was 2,500 with 500 each.
Mhm.
And what is I guess my question is, the requirements, essentially, what is I guess I should say the purpose for it?
We talked about that maybe it makes sense to require that they be a 501c3 to have more accountability for it, that it could be sort of clumsy or loosey-goosey if we just gave it to Nick, me, and two of his cousins.
So for the purpose of that would be to say set up a table or a tent at an event in Michigan City.
I got you.
So if they wanted to set something up, we would prefer like a 501c3 so that it's an established not-for-profit, that we're not just giving it to an individual for whatever purposes, just so that we have a paper trail for where the money's going.
So is it like a sponsorship grant, essentially, like for events, events of that nature?
Yes. It could be for a church group that wants to set up something.
I got you. I
It
know.
could be a neighborhood
Mhm.
association,
Yeah.
and so along those lines, we thought, if the neighborhood associations aren't established as a 501c3 or whatnot, maybe we can help them out with that. But we gotta have some kind of guidelines, right?
Yeah, it feels like Dan Bowditch and our attorney would both agree with what you said.
Yeah.
I wish you'd said that a few months ago.
It could also be, we've discussed this in the past, maybe we have an elderly widow that lives in the zone that can't mow his or her own lawn. So maybe we can get an established lawn care company to maintain that property.
Do we have one? A lawn care company? that we can call?
I mean, but there's
Need
various around. I mean, that we could probably
But
work.
once again, you know, like an I-9 or something along those lines would help with that.
So, make sure I got it all. For the neighborhood improvement grant, the purpose is essentially sponsorship and neighborhood beautification.
Mhm.
About time both into one.
Yep. It could be for the neighborhood gardens that we have.
I have block parties or events,
Yep.
cleanup
Yeah.
and beautification, and then beautification projects or public art programs.
So not, essentially not directly related to a residence or a business in the zone, but
The event being in the
Property.
zone.
yes.
Okay.
So-
I was about to ask you that.
So if we, I guess it might turn them off, but so let's say we partner with, let's say like a neighborhood association from the east end of the zone, and then a neighborhood association from the west end of the zone, and we did like a dumpster drive that day where everybody able to come that live in the zone and get rid of the trash that they throw all out. So that this kind of work in that parameter as well, like that.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Neighborhood and beautification.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Would probably just want to see some kind of board and or 501c3 be the one asking for it. Like I said, a board or that. Personally,
So I got a question. How often can this 501c3 submit this grant only once? But there's 501c3s that does multiple events all year round.
I think that's the discretion of the board to decide.
plan on only doing 5.
We're only doing 5 to start. So maybe 1 this first year, just see how it takes off.
Mhm.
And then after that, I mean, if it's a success and we see a difference in neighborhoods, I don't have any problem allowing it more than once a year if it's effective.
On the application, I'd like to see a narrative on what they're planning on doing. And then a budget that's kind of itemized. And then have a report from them at the end telling us, hey, this is how many people showed up. This is how the money helped us.
Yeah, we'll make a simple budget. I don't want anyone intimidated, but I think it's a point well taken.
So I guess my question for these type of grants, I couldn't remember if we could directly give to 501c3s. So essentially with the sponsorship, could part of the budget itemized list that come with what they want us to spend the $500 for, and we pay that directly as opposed to just give the money to the organization?
I could see that too.
Yeah, like that.
So add that as, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, no,
you go, I'm
I was
apologizing.
gonna say, if that's the case, then is it absolutely necessary that the association has to have a nonprofit status? So for instance, and I'm just speaking from my association, we are in the process, we're waiting for our 501c to come through, but we do not officially have it yet. So if we were interested in getting a small grant for, say, I don't know, for garbage pickup or whatever it happened to be in our neighborhood, could we then maybe come to the board and say, hey, we want a small grant for this, and have you guys pay for it?
Is there anything that established the association?
Well, yeah, we have bylaws, we have written bylaws, of course, yes.
Okay,
But
so
we
our
are
only
not-
thinking for that was IRS purposes, so that we're just not handing
We are
money
a
out to
business
anybody.
entity, yes, we have a bank account, we just are not non-for-profit yet.
Okay, I think in that circumstance, I think personally, I would say yes, it's established. This is something that we wanted to talk to the attorney about and possibly Dan Bowditch just to see, just so that our bases are covered on our end as the association, because, you know, the worry that we had as a committee was we weren't just gonna start giving money out to individuals.
I get that.
Because then that might not look very clean
I
on our
absolutely
part.
get
So
that.
that's kind of why we put that out there, as like something like a 501c3. Not saying that it has to be a 501c3, but something along the lines that shows it's established, organization.
Sure.
So I think we'll get clarification from, the attorney.
Yeah, and the only thing to add to what you said is that possibly Dan would say to us, great, you've got these 4 or 5 payments. Where are the EINs, the federal EINs? And we don't want to be looking at each other like I don't know.
EIN.
Okay, well then, that's
Then I would
kind of
say
all
that's
I'm
fine.
going to is the EIN.
Mhm.
I think for this grant, just my opinion for this grant, I think all payments for this grant should be paid to the business that performing the service, as opposed to just exchanging money with any of the with any of the entities that apply, whether it be a widow that's coming to get her grass cut, or a neighborhood association that want to do that. I think just for this neighborhood improvement grant, I think everything should be paid directly to the vendor, as opposed to exchanging money with them at all. That way, there's always gonna be a paper trail. I mean, because I think anything over $600, they got a they got a
1090
Report.
Right.
yeah. Thank you. I'm sorry. So I think that way we got a paper trail of allocating where we go. We'll have a receipt for the purchase and everything, as opposed to just writing a check, giving it to them. Everything's paid directly to the vendor. That's just my suggestion for this.
Yeah, that may be cleaner too.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of clean up all of any worries, and then it opens us up for neighborhood associations and residents that apply for this grant without having to be a 501c3, because we paying directly to this, and you still explaining the purpose on how it's benefiting its own. I think it kind of collides and works everything in together.
I like it.
Is there anything else anybody want to add for the neighborhood improvement grant?
It sounds like a very rough work in progress. Do you feel that we have time that we can wait for that grant to roll it out?
Well, it's up to the board. It's not just up to me.
I think this is consistent. Why don't we plan to have a written proposal for the next meeting? We can always edit. It's word processing, and no one's cutting my lawn over the next 30 days.
Right.
My only question for that is, our other 2 grants will go into effect March 1st. So the start date for this one will we extend it longer, or how would that work out? Because I kind of had the idea, if we iron out what the purpose and what it is, then we get it, the executive system, whoever, based off the information we use today, we get it presented before March 1st. Before March, we get it read up, drew up before we approve it, contingent on the amendments and what confines and what the attorney, what Dan Borders may say works in there, and then we post that final copy. But that way, I think this is a great idea. I think it may sound a little rough, but I think we got enough time until, it's only 28 days this month, so we got like 13 days left to try to get it ironed out and get it figured out. I mean, that executive assistant now, I think, should be able to navigate and work through some of this, but it's up to the board essentially.
So approve it and with sort of like document to follow.
Approval in theory.
Pardon me?
Approval in theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, everything you said makes sense. I know I'm not going to be able to contribute heavy on that. Just things going on with me between the end of February. So I could have a meeting with you, but I won't be able to do much on it. Sorry.
Would we have to reconvene as a board to vote on it?
To vote on the final, I mean, that
Probably.
probably, yeah. So I don't know exactly.
So the state statute, does that say that we have to have all the grants available from March 1st to October 31st? Or is that our standard?
I believe that's our standard. We probably can adjust the standard on that.
So if
But I don't know 100%.
if this grant was available from April 1st to October 31st, I mean, is that gonna be a problem?
I don't see a problem with it. I mean,
I don't either, so I think,
I'm going to make a motion. We we postpone it and target having it in place by beginning of April.
April
That's
1st.
my thought.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to table the neighborhood improvement grant until April, with target date of April 1st. So, table until the next meeting, I'm
By the
sorry.
March meeting, yeah.
I apologize. Any more discussion? It's April Fool's Day. I apologize. All in favor, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We'll go down to the workforce development grant.
So I think right out of the gate, same thing with this one. We'll discuss what we think should be in it. And then, we'll try to have a draft by the March meeting and have this one implemented by April 1st as well. We kind of talked about it a little bit. It could cover any expenses associated with, obtaining a certification, possibly even, I don't know, any classes.
So is this grant the same as what Dan was talking about last meeting? When he mentioned how the business pays a certain payment and it might be 10 or 15% left over, he can use that to put an employee through workforce development?
Yeah, so the businesses can already do it, so this would be more focused on the residents
The
in the
residents.
zone, taking advantage of this grant.
So let's say if an applicant, or like he was using an example with the chamber, working on the education committee. Let's say if we can use this grant essentially for a resident that lives in the zone wants to go to barber school.
Mm-hmm.
They can get up to that. I don't know exactly how much barber school costs, but
Right.
some aim and geared toward that.
Yep,
That sounds great to me.
Yep. a license, a certification, anything that's gonna help them improve their quality of life through work. Training. I think that's gonna be at the discretion of the board, but if they can show us how they're gonna use it to gain more willful employment, that's the vision.
And we talked about this, we could try to have a conversation with Ivy Tech. They may very well have programs that might interact with this and that might shape how we set our grant.
We also want to use this for transportation, correct?
Correct. Anything associated with the training or classes that they're taking.
Sometimes it could be childcare.
I babysit for them. I'm just playing. So we should. So I kind of had an idea we kind of leave this one up. Honestly, with both of them, they're both newer. Leave it kind of up to the discretion of. Leave a little more discretion for it. It's something new we're rolling out. Be able to get a better understanding, familiarity.
Yes.
Get better familiar with it, and then be able to set the parameters better. Especially just the general concept of them, I think, are great. It's a fresh idea to have, besides just the two standard that come. So I think kind of leaving some latitude for with the grant committee, the committee as whole, to be able to like it or not like it. Just set on a few basic parameters.
I would walk over to that work one office and talk to those folks and tell them what we're trying to do, and they're probably gonna be able to just here's how you need to do it. They literally do it every day.
Yeah, and they may say, fine, you'll be an add-on to these programs you
100%.
already have in place.
100%.
So do I have a motion for the workforce development grant? I'm sorry, was there any more discussion on this?
So I'll make a motion that we postpone a final decision on this, and that anybody, I'll work with Nick and maybe I heard Jim volunteer to have some conversations, ideally with Ivy Tech and across the hall, and see how that might shape what we put together, and we take it up again in March.
I'll second
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. We go down to the 2025 budget. As Nick stated earlier, the budget for the grants was proposed at $40,000 for residential, $52,500 for I'm sorry, or did I write it backwards?
40,000 for business.
40,000 for business, 52,500 for residential. Neighborhood improvement at 25,000. 20. I'm sorry, 2,500, and workforce development at 5,000 for a sum total of $100,000 in grants for the 2025 grant cycle.
I'd like to make that motion.
Got a motion in a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Last item I had on there after our last meeting, we talked about the purchase of a phone and internet for the office. So I called Verizon, who we currently use for the One Talk app that we use, and they gave me two quotes. One is a quote for the iPhone 14 iPhone 14, and then the other one's for a Galaxy. He gave me two. Tell me the cheapest model for both brands, and the quotes were for if we pay for the phone outright, and then just paid for Wi-Fi. But I was kind of under the impression that we could actually save some money on the monthly payment if we just purchased the phone and used the hotspot from the phone to power the electronic devices inside the office. I mean, there's still a laptop that the executive assistant be able to use, and then the actual desktop in the office as well.
Does the desktop connect via hotspot?
I believe so, yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a good method.
Is that an unlimited data plan? You're gonna need it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Unlimited.
We'll need it definitely.
Yes, is that, yeah.
You
gotta
can
make
upgrade
sure
it
it's
to
on-
unlimited data plan.
You're gonna need unlimited data if you're
Yeah.
using it.
I believe the Galaxy is $702, or Galaxy $702. No, that's $702. Then the iPhone was $883
For the year,
I see sales tax on both.
for the phone.
off of the phone.
I'm sorry to hear you.
I said, I prefer the Galaxy. iPhone is,
I'm right with you.
Me too.
You like iPhones? You don't like iPhones?
I don't.
No.
No, never had one.
Me neither. I never had one either. Yeah, interesting.
Should I make a motion that we buy the Galaxy then, in light of what's just been said?
It just makes, you say you saw sales tax? We shouldn't be paying sales tax, right?
Yeah, it's on, well, it's on this front page where it says $84. And then vice payment tax zero, so I don't know what's at that time.
So you're saying we're not going with the business internet plan?
Yeah, we
Phone would be used as the hotspot.
correct. We was gonna go to the unlimited phone plan and use the hotspot for the internet for the office.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. Did you make a motion?
Yes,
I'm sorry. Did I make a motion to purchase the
Verizon.
Verizon Galaxy?
I misspoke, the Galaxy.
With the unlimited data plan, right?
Yes.
With the unlimited data plan.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Go down to old business. There's no old business. Go down to public comment. Call for public comment. Public comment is closed. Go down to director's comment. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say?
Listen, we can take this up more, but I do want to talk to the city. Remember, I think I sent the
Yeah.
text about, just to be public about it, that, preparing the minutes, I'm trying to make that more sensible. So there are AI programs that prepare that within 2 or 3 seconds give you a full transcript. I still have to edit it down, but it's more efficient. And I talked to Tristan, I wanna go to the city and just see if the city will purchase one of these apps and just have it use it for all the commissions. Cause I could just pay for it out of pocket, I don't want to, or make us have to pay for it. But it's silly, you got like 8 commissions, and so it's like silly. So that's what I would recommend.
Sound good to me. You can say something.
I'd like to start a outreach committee, work with, talk, or at least talk about doing something with a website, something to do with promoting us, maybe doing a couple sponsorships for different entities like Chamber. I know they have different events that they look for sponsors. City has events that they look for sponsors. Like I said, probably just like an outreach committee to talk about some of those things.
Do I have any volunteers for the outreach committee with Dakota? Any volunteers?
Executive.
Say I, huh?
It's our executive director, just raise your hand.
Great.
So,
So-
what do you want to? Website. I mean, I could throw together a website. Would you rather me try to look at like getting a quote for creating one, or just for domain hostage, or?
Only thing with the website, I was kind of still lost on it because I thought with the new ordinance they passed that we were subject to it like all the other boards and commissions. So I don't know if we could have a website. I mean, it's something we can. I don't exactly know how it works. I thought everything had to go through the city, so I'm kind of lost on that. Just me. I don't know if anybody else knows anything different.
Let's ask Mr. Novak on that, because we've discussed this as a group several times, and you know, that's why God invented lawyers, right? Asking tough questions.
So should I hold off?
I mean, you shouldn't. I think you should still pursue. You still pursue it, but we just get some clarification on the turn if we're actually allowed to do that. I think it'd be the best course for that.
I'll have some ideas at the next meeting.
So I was kind of thinking about maybe having a committee to meet with the mayor regularly. But maybe that's something that the outreach committee can do as well. Just have that open line of communication between us and the mayor's office. Obviously, we are making a difference in the city that she runs. So. and maybe-
Because if you can't do the website, at least a Facebook page. So people can know. So I don't think a lot of people know even if they're inside the enterprise zone.
Mhm.
Well, then I remember there was some discussion at one point. Is there any opportunity to expand the zone? Are we getting the most use that we can out of the zone?
I know was speaking with Mr. Bowditch, he said that the way the process works for expanding the zone, if we wanted to, it has to be approved via the city council.
Mhm.
So it'll be, I mean, I think me, Nick, and Bruce kind of had talked about this before. It would have to be, I mean, we could work with, he said Dan was applicable to work with it as well, to work to expand the zone and then present it to the city council, ask to have the zone made bigger, which I think would be a great, especially with all the new development and everything else going here. I think it'd be great to add incorporate more of what's going on. I think that'd be something that'd be real good to look into.
I don't know when's the best time for that to take place. I imagine not at the beginning of a grant cycle. But
I don't know, why don't we, one of us volunteer to ask Dan when he's available to have a chat.
Anybody? I mean,
I'll reach out to him.
sound good to me. And you said you wanted to see about a committee for working more closely with the mayor's office, correct?
Yeah.
Any volunteers for that? I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, you're good.
Yeah, volunteer for that.
So we got Nick, Bruce, and our executive assistant with this is the outreach committee with the
It kind of goes hand in hand though.
yeah, that's what I'm like, yeah, kind
should I jump on that one too and just see where it goes?
Yeah, same
Yeah,
thing.
just. Or
I'm okay with that.
of sound good to me. Anything else? Only thing I want to add is I want to thank you for accepting the position.
Yes, thanks.
I want to thank everybody that helped out throughout the process of locating and finding an executive assistant. I wish you all the best endeavors.
Water.
I'm sure everybody will be more than happy to help you out in any way we can. Only thing I would suggest to the board is that we give her a little latitude on purchasing the remaining things that she may need for the office as she gets the ball rolling, gets going. And That's really, oh, I'm sorry, there is one other thing. We just got the yearly invoice for the PO box. I didn't know if we want to continue with the PO box or move it over and just use the mailbox in the office. And the last thing that I forgot is what Dan was talking about as well. How we were having all our payments sent via to the PO box. So just want to kind of know if we want to work with him to go into an online system, or if we want to continue with that route that we were doing as well. Because he thought it'd be more sufficient if we had an online payment option as opposed to checks being sent via mail to the PO box.
How much is the annual subscription? About 150?
Yeah.
So I think we need to keep it for now until the physical address gets more established, because that's what people are familiar with. But absolutely, I think we need to go electronic payments moving forward. It is 2025.
So I have a motion to pay the PO box invoice for the year.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Full aye as well. That passes. If there's anything else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion.